This is a KTV special report. Good evening, and this is our top story. 5 boys have been reported missing. A search is currently underway by local authorities, with the president making military personnel available who are now en route to aid in the search for the missing children.
March 26, 1991 was a pretty special day. It marked the first local elections held in South Korea since the military dictatorship had come to an end in 1987. Because of this, the government marked the day by making it a public holiday in order to allow as many people as possible the opportunity to head out and vote. At the same time, 6 boys, all from the same elementary school, took advantage of this holiday, which meant a day off from school. They explored the outskirts of their town in the local streams near the local mountain. The path that the boys took meandered through the local landscape, but was one that took them farther and farther away from home. One of the 6 boys, remembering the words of his mother, instructing him not to stray too far from home that morning, turned back, a decision that would ultimately save his life. The 5 boys who remained continued on their adventure that day, but they would never return home. When the group of boys did not return that evening, their parents began a search of the area, hoping to find the boys still out playing late, or perhaps at the home of someone they knew. But after no trace of the boys was found, the parents reached out to the local police for assistance. The 5 boys were then reported missing and a search was set up, and the story quickly gained national attention. Thousands of people, police, and even the military were dispatched to look for the missing boys. There are estimates that range upwards of 300,000 people taking part in searches. Several of these searches were even broadcast live on South Korean television. The areas that the boys were last seen heading towards was searched over 500 times by various people and teams, but nothing was ever found. And for 11 years the case would grow cold. The love and laughter that once filled 5 homes was replaced by silence, and the hopes of the families flickered with each passing year. And then, as these cases often do, attention turned back onto the parents. A criminal psychologist, a new type of investigator for Korea, had come from the United States and claimed that their profile suggested one of the fathers had the children buried inside his home. He was adamant that he knew what he was talking about, and so an investigation was launched, and the home was dug up all on live television. But the parents of the boys objected and noted that a father could never kill his own child. But they dug anyways, and eventually found absolutely nothing. But after years of searching and the destruction of his home, it all became too much, and the boy's father would lose his life due to stress. He was only in his early 40s. And the case would once again grow cold, until several years later, a real break in the case would happen. "11 years after the disappearance, 2 local men were out hunting for acorns in the area of where the boys had disappeared. Now on that day, the 2 men would find more than mere acorns. They would make a chilling discovery. The pair had somehow managed to stumble upon the remains of the 5 boys in an area a little over a mile from their homes, and one that had already been searched several times throughout the preceding years. Now, an investigation into the remains led police to believe that the 5 boys had simply died of hypothermia, perhaps after getting lost during the night, a conclusion that the parents of the boys originally strongly rejected. Now, their reasoning came because of the unusual nature of the bodies themselves. They noted that the boys had seemingly had their clothes tied into knots, suggesting that they may have been bound prior to their untimely deaths. The parents wouldn't let this go, and an eventual autopsy would also indicate that 3 of the missing boys had signs of trauma to the head, indicative of some type of metal farming tool. There are also reports from the time that say that police found several small bullet holes in the skull of one child, potentially coming from some type of small caliber weapon, with 2 empty casings and 1 loaded shell found near the scene. And lastly, the parents found it highly unusual that the 5 boys were found so close to a nearby village of which they knew quite well. The lights of that village even being able to be seen from where the bodies were located. But even after all of this, no arrests and only theories remained. A farmer's rage, perhaps. That would make some sense considering the area, and if the boys had somehow wandered onto property that belonged to someone else. Or perhaps it was just a lone killer. Now this is possible, and police followed several leads, including sightings of the boys, as well as getting several calls from people they say had killed the boys or were holding them hostage for ransom. But all of these never panned out. Over the preceding years, a popular theory has emerged that suggested that 1 or more of the boys were accidentally shot, as the shooting range did reside near where the bodies were located. A range that was also used by the military, which had a base nearby. Information from the time does indicate that the shooting range was closed due to the holiday, but it is possible that someone got into the property to shoot illegally because no one would be there, and had managed to strike one of the boys with a potential errant shot. Some members of the boys' families even feel that the military is involved in some way, and that an official or officer may have been at the shooting range that day, trying to get rid of unspent ammunition and striking the boys in the process. They also found it highly suspicious that the police never bothered to investigate the military, at least not publicly, when they brought their concerns to them. It should also be noted that that shooting range in question was permanently closed sometime in 1994, but the reason for the closure remains unclear. Or perhaps the boys did simply just get lost and froze to death, huddling and tying themselves together in order to stay warm, and gazing at the dim flickering lights of the village below. Whatever the truth is, it was buried with the victims and lost over the years. So we may never truly know what happened to the Frog Boys of South Korea, but their memory lives on even today. In 2015, South Korea abolished the statute of limitations for murder, just as they were about to run out on this famous case. Since then, the local police have announced a new task force to review the case anew. It's been over 30 years since the Frog Boys disappeared, and someone out there knows something, and potentially is still alive to tell the tale. And so their case remains open, and while their voices remain silent, perhaps someday in the future, a new voice will rise up and break the silence and help bring justice to the 5 boys who deserve it. Thank you for watching this episode on the Frog Boys of South Korea. If you liked what you saw, the best thing you can do to support this channel is to like, comment, and subscribe. We hope to see you in the next video, and remember to stay safe and always be on the lookout for the mysteries beneath.